We are back on Sports 225. Mark Whitehead is from Denham Springs. He's also a high-level basketball official in the world of the NCAA. And I say that not even the slightest bit jokingly, even though he's over there probably going, huh, come on, whatever. But 4 Final Fours.
Very blessed.
I know.
Very
I'll never forget the first time you did one. I didn't know. This is back, what year was the first one?
1999.
Okay. And back then, it wasn't like today. And I'll tell you a funny story about how they announced them. So I'm getting courtside for the game, and all of a sudden I look out there, and I said, there's Whitehead. And, I went running over and whistled and waved, and I had, pride for you. It was exciting. Now, they announced the officials, and we visited in the hotel on Saturday morning in Atlanta last month. And I said, cool, man, you got, the second game with whatever. And you said, how do you know that?
I didn't know it. So it's, they usually announce it an hour before game time. They had done something different this year, which a lot of people weren't aware of, including the officials. And that was, they announced it to the media that morning for the evening game.
Right. 99, was that Tampa, St. Petersburg down there?
It was Tampa, St. Pete, which was a great for the climate, but the travel back and forth for the NCAA and all the coaches and all the staff and all the fans had to go back all the way to Tampa across the bridge, and they had to go all the way to St. Petersburg.
I remember all too well. To what was
so it wasn't real good for logistics, I guess.
Yes, it was worse even than Houston when we were there a couple of years ago. Duke won that Final Four in '99, if memory serves. But
Connecticut won it.
UConn.
Richard Hamilton,
Duke.
that group
Yes.
beat. I'm not sure if they beat Duke or Michigan State. They beat one of the two. I think Michigan State won it the next year, or Duke did. One of the two that
they
were
all
there.
blend into one.
Well,
do you remember which game you had?
I had Ohio State and Connecticut, and it was 1-point game the entire way. And I think Hamilton scored the last 5 or 7 points in the last 2 minutes for Connecticut to win it, and that was the semifinal game. And he did the same thing in the championship game, and it's something to be said for being there once before. Because, like I said, whoever lost that year in the semifinal game, or won the semifinals but lost in the finals, won it the next year. And I don't remember if it was Michigan State with Mateen Cleaves, or if it was, Duke with someone else. But, it takes a year to grow up, it seems like.
How is it for an official, though? And I say that like, you walk out there, you got to walk out, look around for that first time you're in the Final Four. It's got to be a little bit intimidating.
I was so young and green, I probably didn't know the difference. They're a lot different today than they were then. Today, most of the arenas, you're up on a stage, up on a floor.
Yeah.
The arenas are the newer, nicer arenas. I mean, even like the Superdome's been redone. It's spectacular compared to what it used to be in the Superdome 10 years ago.
Right.
It is. It takes your breath away when you walk up those steps and there's 75,000 people in there. It does kind of take your breath away. It takes you a few seconds to kind of...
Even now, 14 years later.
And I think, being a little bit nervous is a good thing. It's the good nerves. It's because you want to do a good job. It's because you're excited about it. It's because, you have high expectations. You have a little sweaty palms for maybe the first 10 seconds of the game. Then you think it's just another game, but it's not, but it is.
Just like a player.
Yeah.
You get running, you sweat a little bit, and blow a whistle here and there, and as it goes. How did you get started? You're from Denham Springs. Did you start local high school like everyone else?
I started before then. 1975, got a driver's license and started refereeing itty bitty and bitty basketball. And I tell people, if you can referee 8 and 10-year-olds with mom and dad and the grandparents in the stands, you can referee anything. Because it's brutal some nights or some afternoons because, it's little Johnny's out there playing and the family's all there supporting him, and, little Johnny can't do any wrong. So it was interesting. But I started when I was 15 doing those kind of games.
And can I tell you, when I was 15, I did the same thing, some rec leagues, but I was smart enough to get out. I couldn't keep up and take it at that age even,
It does require a certain constitution to be able to handle it. And then when I graduated from high school, 18 years of age, you can go sign up and referee in the LHSAA. But you have to pass a test, you have to go to clinics, you have to go to meetings.
Right.
But no one starts out refereeing high school basketball. you're refereeing junior high, and you're refereeing ninth grade, and you're refereeing that level for a year or two, and then if you're lucky enough, you move your way up, and after 5 or 6 years, maybe you're at the AAA, 4A, 5A level.
And that's what happened with you.
It is a process. Yeah. It's definitely a process.
When did you get your first LHSAA championship game? You had to have had one somewhere in there.
Yeah. That would have been probably in 84, 85, somewhere in that time frame. Because I got into small college basketball, the NAIA district around here, which was at that time Louisiana College, Dillard, Suno, Xavier, teams from our area. In 1984,
you were practically losing money doing those games between the travel and what you were getting paid.
It was $50 for a game in 1984 at the college level, at that level, and you might drive to Mobile or to New Orleans or to Pineville for about $50. But something you love, it's a passion you have for it. Had no dreams. I couldn't dream that big at that time. I was just trying to get my plays right and my calls right and survive that night and go on to the next night. But and then stepped on up in 1987. American South Conference formed, which is kind of the Sun Belt now.
Right.
New Orleans was in it. Louisiana Lafayette was in it.
Was Mr. Kelly the head of officials then?
Dale Kelly,
yeah.
who refereed 3 Final Four from Tennessee. He was the supervisor at that time of the Metro. The gentleman that was supervisor of the American South was one of his best friends, and it was his mentor, which was Burl Crowell. And Burl Crowell is a legend.
It's funny, you talk about, people think about conference realignment now, and you just threw around a couple of great names, American South and the Metro. The Metro was a basketball super league, had Cincinnati and Memphis and all that for a while, and may it rest in peace.
It was a very good league. It broke up, you know, because the great Midwest Conference came, and then it wound up coming back to being Conference USA.
Yeah, and you've reffed all those leagues.
All those leagues, but Conference USA basically had Louisville, Cincinnati, Marquette, Memphis, Tulane in its heyday. I mean, Tulane back at that time was as good as anybody. So there was some great basketball being played at that time.
That's great. I assume that you got to the college level, to that next level, by getting recognized for your efforts, and I want you to think about that because I got to take a break.
All right.
And we'll talk about the next Final Fours after that. Mark Whitehead is from Denham Springs. He is visiting with me on TV for the first time, and we talked about it forever. And I'm glad to finally get you here. He's done 4 Final Fours, including the one last month in Atlanta. We'll catch up with him a little bit more in just a bit. I'm Lee Feinswag. You're watching Sports 225.